A series tied at 2 apiece. Are we really that surprised? The Blues and Wild could be going the distance as we have Paul Anderson, better known as that guy from the third period Jumbotron, joined to talk how the fans truly have created a home ice advantage unlike any other. Plus, Jessi and I will give our key players from each side that could be the difference in who takes the series. As always, we're created by New Voice Studios, presented by SotaStick, brought to you by Jim Beam, BettorEdge, and Royal Credit Union. This is Season 3, Episode 124.
Marcus Foligno fan club assemble. Not only is SotaStick.com the only place to get your official Marcus Foligno fan club tee, but it's also the only place to get all your favorite Wild team garb, plus so much more beyond hockey. Use code Bardown Beauties for 15% off your total purchase at SotaStick.com.
At Jim Beam, they know the importance of tradition, like chanting "Let's play hockey" prior to the start of each game, or playing the state of hockey anthem after a Wild win. This season, raise one to your fan family with the bourbon that invites us all to come as friends and leave as family. Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey, the official bourbon whiskey partner of the Minnesota Wild and XL Energy Center. Remember, drink smart. Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, copyright 2021, James B. Beam Distilling Company, Incorporate, Claremont, Kentucky.
From New Voice Studios.
Oh yeah, you betcha. Let's go to the boat.
Discombobulate on the spot.
Part of the Talk North Podcast Network.
Fly out to Russia personally.
Jesse Pierce.
This is off the rails. We're only a couple minutes in.
Alexis Pearson.
We're not going to throw batteries on the ice at, Kirill Kaprizov. We're not that crazy. Like...
Bardown Beauties Podcast.
Was it about guys getting hammered down low night after night?
Like, everyone loves to crap on analytics, but the analytics do not lie here.
We are firing Fred at the top of the hour.
More hit. It's like T.
Starts now.
Hello, everybody. What's up? We're back. Don't panic. There is an episode this week. Like I said, we wanted to just keep the content fresh, flowing for you. And Alexis, the schedule is making us have to jump through hoops.
Shocking.
Knee jerk. I know, right? That's
Yeah.
life in sports, baby. Again, I'm Jessi Pierce. She's Alexis Pearson. Producer Fred is fired. If you hear crying, it is not Alexis or I. It is my child. One of
It
three.
might be. By the end of the episode, it could be all three of us.
That's the series is tied 2-2.
Yep.
First round Western Conference playoffs. Minnesota Wild versus the St. Louis Blues. Alexis, I guess let's start before we dive into each of our key players here. And before we get to our guest, Paul Anderson, the guy from the Jumbotron, in case you are familiar with home Wild games. Are you surprised that we're here at 2-2, given how the series kind of started? I think I saw a lot of people hopping off that bandwagon after game one, but they seem to have come around. Are you surprised that we're tied up 2-2 right now?
No, not at all surprised. And I think we're both on the same page, and we had Lou Korak on, who's a writer for the Blues, for last week's episode. Go listen to that if you haven't. But all three of us were like, I think this is going to be a back and forth series. No one's going to take too demanding of a lead. It's going to be pretty even across the board. And that's what we've gotten so far. I'm a little shocked even that the Wild won 2 in a row, winning games 2 and 3. So it's been pretty much as expected in this series for me. And it was funny because after game 1, when we were doing our pregame show for game 2 for the Wild Radio Network, Fallness was like, you guys were all freaking out. He goes, if we win game 2, everyone's going to forget about game 1. He's like, we just got to go win game 2. And I'm like, that is how it is in the playoffs though, right? Like your team loses a game, they win a game, and you just get these visions in your head. I can't talk this morning. You get visions in your head, one way or the other, of like, oh my God, we're going to win the Stanley Cup, or oh my God, it's over. Like, that's how it goes. Your emotions ride high in the playoffs, just like it does for the players and the coaches and everybody else. So all in all, not surprised we're sitting at 2 apiece heading into game 5. Jessi, is it gone as expected in your eyes?
I feel like I go back to that game 1, and to me, that wasn't a 4-0 game. That was a 1-0 game, 2-0 game. I am more surprised that the Wild were able to post as many goals as they did. Yeah. Given the weakened defense, I guess, maybe not. But no, I expected it to go to at least 6. I think you had said maybe 7. Yeah. So, we're right on track for being correct in our predictions, which again, as everybody knows, is what's most important. When we're on BettorEdge.com, BettorEdge.com, Alexis and I constantly trying to make the right bets, make the right moves. Code Beauts, BEAUTS will get you a free $10. So love that. But this week we wanted to try something different because, as we said, the games keep rolling on whether we're recording or not. So last week we covered the series as a whole. This week as we get closer to the finish of this, whichever way it rolls, I wanted Alexis and I to each take an opportunity to put our players on the pedestal, which player we select for each team. We're going to be fair. We're going to give the Blues their shining moment as well. But Alexis, you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
It was your idea and it was a good one. So you go first. You give me who your picks are for
all right.
two.
Segment 1, Jessi's picks. I think a game changer for the Minnesota Wild, Jared Spurgeon. Now people might be like, well, duh, he's the captain, yada, yada. If you notice, even going back to Sunday's loss, the way he's just really elevated himself offensively, like I think that was always there. You just didn't see it. Maybe that was because he was paired with Suter or what have you. I don't know. I just didn't see the offensive capabilities that I'm seeing from Jared Spurgeon. And that's absolutely huge, right? I mean, I think the defense need to buckle down a little bit more, but I think if Spurge can get more involved in the offense, that's going to be a real game changer for me. So for the Minnesota Wild, I think Jared Spurgeon really can tilt this game in Minnesota's favor. For the St. Louis Blues, and now the problem is I had picked this a while ago before he was hurt, but Nick Leddy for me. I went defense this time. It sounds like he is possible to return in game 5. So I'm going to stick with Nick Leddy because as we saw in that first game, he shut down Kaprizov and not what didn't seem very challenging for him either. So I absolutely love to see this. So I think, and he's a Minnesota boy. We'll give a little love to a Minnesota boy.
Got to give our boys love.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Nick Leddy, again, Minnesota capitalized on the fact that he was out of the lineup. And if he returns, he tilts it in favor of St. Louis.
Kirill literally had a hat trick in game 2. So, I mean, that goes to show you the big difference from game 1 to game 2, where not that he was non-existent, but they did a very good job of making sure he didn't have time and space.
Exactly. So I again, defense at heart. So that's kind of who I went with. Alexis, who are your 2 players that will tilt either way for either team?
Well, first of all, I think this was a fun little debate / discussion to have because both these teams have so many talented players that you really could make an argument for almost anybody for either team. And still, we're going to have at least 2 more games here to go where we could see some different players shine than we've seen. But for the Minnesota Wild, I'm going to go with Joel Eriksson Ek because I think Joel Eriksson Ek is one of those guys who he's the kind of guy you want on your team all the time, but especially in the playoffs because he very much so is the kind of guy who will just wear you down. He is not fun to play against. He's very hard to get any time and space against. He can put the puck in the back of the net. He's got the second most points and the second most goals for the Wild.
I mean, he had a hat trick too.
He did. I'm counting it as a hat trick. I don't care what anybody says. Shout out to Moose for being, in Wisconsin offside
10 feet. Yeah.
Literally so obvious. So, Kirill's got the most points and Kirill is tied for the most goals in the postseason with Edmonton Oilers, Evander Kane. Shout out to Evander Kane. I'm wearing the Ryan Hartman shirt. That was a really good connection there.
SotaStick.com.
Yep. Get your t-shirt. So I just think Joel Eriksson Ek, from the way that he plays the game to actually contributing and getting points on the board as well, he's playing the perfect kind of playoff hockey right now. And I believe it was after game 3, if I remember correctly, or no, game 2, Fleury and Joel Eriksson Ek were talking about in the post game.
I was there. Fleury, it was adorable. Yeah.
And Fleury was talking about how hard it is to play against Joel Eriksson Ek when you're playing against him. He's like, last year when I was with the Golden Knights and he was with the Wild, and he was like, it wasn't fun. And now he's like, hey, we're on the same team. It's great. So he's that kind of guy who really can be annoying. I think he plays the game well. He plays it smartly. He doesn't make many mistakes. And so that's my pick for the Minnesota Wild. I think he'll be a big difference maker if the Wild win this series. For the St. Louis Blues, it pains me, but I'm going with David Perron because he is a Wild killer. My dad the other day texted me. I think this was after his hat trick in game 1. He was like, remember Jerome McGinley? I was like, oh yeah. He's like, remember how he always scored against the Wild? I was like, oh yeah. He's
Bring
like,
back
David
the Northwest
Perron.
Division.
Bring back the Northwest Division. He's like, David Perron is that guy for the Wild now. Like, he's just one of those, he's kind of like Mark Stone, like those guys who just always find the back of the net when they're playing the Wild. And Perron, again, has continued to rack up the points here in the postseason. So that's going to be my pick, just purely for the fact that I think he's got the Wild's number. And he has already been able to produce against the Wild in just 4 games here. So those are my 2 picks. But like I said, with how good both these teams are, you could make arguments for literally you made an argument for somebody who's been injured for half the game and you still have a good point. So it's like, that's how good these 2 teams are, especially matched up against each other.
Yeah, no, I would disagree. I'd do an honorable mention to Kevin Fiala because I think if he figures it out, you're starting to see that frustration. And I always go back to that bubble in Vancouver where penalties just got the best of him. And you saw that in Sunday's game where he had, I think, 14 penalty minutes, and he hasn't found that groove, which is a shame because we all saw the heater. We didn't forget what he's capable of. So, I mean, honorable mention to him, because I think he definitely, if he figures it out, is going to tilt the game in Minnesota's favor, obviously. But especially if he doesn't, he's going to tilt it in St. Louis's favor because he's going to keep taking those penalties. So that's where it's almost like he's kind of either or. Like, he could help St. Louis if he stays frustrated like he is. He needs to just kind of relax and remember.
That's a really good point. And I think especially with, you talked about the fact that the Blues defense and Nicoletti specifically did a great job of shutting Kirill down in game 1. If they keep doing that, if they go back to finding a way to shut him down, you're going to need your second line to step up and maybe get you some goals, because that first line might not be having as much success with how tight of defense they're playing against them. So to your point, Jessi, if Kevin Fiala finds his game, that really might be game over for the St. Louis Blues, regardless of what the rest of the team does, just because he has that ability to really take over if he wants to. So, it's too bad that last night was his first point in the series. I mean, that's just like, that's from what he was doing at the end of the regular season to now it's frustrating for him and all of us. So I hope he finds his game here before this series and the playoffs are over.
Shout out to Fifi, which I don't like. I don't like that nickname. Usually that's his nickname. They call him Fifi.
Who gave
Probably
him that?
Because it's ridiculous. It's a locker room thing. I don't know.
Okay. Do you guys remember, Jessi, this might've been past your time, but do you remember Webkins?
Past my time. Oh no, what is that?
Like a Tamagotchi? Okay, exactly. No, well, it's kind of, so basically you would get like this stuffed animal pet, and then there was a code attached to them that you could go then play with that pet like in an online world. So it was kind of similar to a Tamagotchi in a sense. Anyway, the first one I was obsessed with them when I was like 11, and the first one I ever had was a Chihuahua, and her name was Fifi. So that was where I was going with that story.
That's
but anyway,
adorable. That's adorable. Well, we'll see which players make an impact coming up here in Game 5 in Minnesota, where our friend Paul Anderson is going to be there. He's going to join us again. If you've ever been to any single Wild home game this year, you know who Paul is. We're going to have him talk about home ice advantage and what the fans have done for this Minnesota Wild team. We'll take a quick break. Let's try that again, Alexis. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's hockey season, baby, and the best way to head into a new season is to be fully equipped with all the merch you need to cheer on your favorite teams. Oh, and some Bardown Beauties merch too, right? Right. We've got you covered. Literally, head over to teespring.com where you can find all kinds of custom designed Bardown Beauties apparel, plus so much more.
We're back. Joining us now. You know what, actually, Paul, if you could just do your intro for the YouTube viewers. Let's show them so they can really remember, like, that's that guy from the Jumbotron. Let's start it off, Paul. What do you think?
I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to yell as loud as I normally do since we all have ears in. Let's go. Let's go.
The fingers. That's how you know. It's the double point to the camera. Yeah. That's how they can identify you in a minute. And the hair. Are you allowed to cut your hair, or what's the rules with that? Because I think that's your other distinguishing feature is your hair and the beard.
Not this season so far. So I think it's done being cut for this year. So
I love it. Yeah. So joining us now, Paul Anderson. He is on the Jumbotron. It's every third period, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. We've had to come back, or we've been tied every third period. So it's been almost every game in March.
Yeah. So basically the camera finds Paul, season ticket holder for your Minnesota Wild. And he just gets the crowd going by staring straight into the camera and doing the let's go. And he's got the hair, comparison. Let's compare your flow, because when I tweeted out a picture of us, people were like, oh, it could be like a Haggard. Who's your biggest comparison? Like, what would you say?
I don't know. I get the dude from Lebowski quite a bit. I get the Hagrid. The Bobby from Sons of Anarchy's new one for me.
Oh, I saw that one. I love me some Bobby though, so that's not a bad one.
It's all over the place. So it is what it is.
Yeah. I think the reason I really wanted to have you on too is not only am I such a huge fan of that entire little bit, which is a bit. You're not getting paid.
It's a bit now. No,
you're not getting paid. People need to know that. Like, you're not the dance t-shirt guy. Thank you.
I get no perks other than being a GIF and on the big screen. So
yeah, and famous. I mean, you've got to be. Do people come up to you aside from me fangirling over you? Have other folks found you?
No, it's happening all over the place now. So a lot in the X, obviously, but at grocery stores now, and if I'm getting takeout at a restaurant, they're like, "You're that wild guy," and I'm like, "Yep." So I get insane guy, Jumbotron guy, let's go guy. So
let's go guy.
It's been fun. My fiance is not a big fan of the intention. She just keeps walking whenever I get stopped, which is fine.
They learn.
So have you been, how long have you had season tickets? Give us a little background on your fan, because I mean, you might be one of the biggest fans in the arena now. Have you always been one of the biggest fans, and where did your fandom start with this Minnesota Wild team?
Yeah, so my family and our family business had tickets since the inception of the Wild. We were all very excited to get hockey back. So that was that. And then, 2009 happened. So we kind of got rid of the family tickets. And then I was just buying so many tickets through Scalpers and StubHub and all that at the time that I was like, let's see if I can just get some seats. And back then there was a waiting list because, that was 2012, 13. So right when the big signings happened for the first time. Yeah, and then I've been doing that in my section, not pointing at the camera, but I've been yelling at everyone there. So I had 4 seats, but I had 2 down low and then 2 like 5 rows behind me. And if the friends I brought to a game behind me, if I didn't hear them yelling, I would turn around and do my point, but I'd point back at them, and everyone else in the section just thought I was nuts.
Right.
Because I was still very much in the corporate world then and had short hair, a much better kept beard. And so I wasn't as noticeable besides just being a giant. But yeah, so that's kind of where it started in my section. I've always got section 115 amped up, get them yelling, get them screaming. And then this year, I've now met the camera lady, Allison. So she and I now share emails and we chat back and forth. But yeah, it was the December 4th Toronto game. It was a hard fought game. I think we came back to tie it in the second.
Yep.
And it was tied going into OT, and they put me on, and I knew where the camera was. So I just looked at the camera, pointed at it, and then we were able to rally. I think that was the shootout win.
It was, yeah.
And then they've been I got a bunch of texts that night from people who knew me in the stands or said we needed that. Let's keep it going. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And
so
I'm happy to do it.
I gotta ask, does this mean that you are a little bit of are you superstitious at all now that you've seen how you can turn the crowd around? So I got 2 superstitions with hockey. One, if I don't see the opening face-off, the puck drop, I think the Wild will lose. And 2, I think it's bad luck to cross your legs during the middle of the game because you can't stand up as fast and cheer if your team wins. Those are my 2 superstitions.
These are things. These are things
I am superstitious. I am superstitious. They put me up, and we talked about it before the game. They're like, we're going to go right to you after Let's Play Hockey. I was like, okay. I mean, we'll get the crowd going early.
Ruining it, yeah.
And then the team didn't show up. So, we discussed after that. I said, we're not doing that again. She goes, no. So we went back.
I love that there's like a game plan, right? Like,
Well, they told me, she goes, get ready right after Let's Play Hockey. We're going to you. I said, okay, I'll be in my seats for sure. So, I have some weird superstitions. Certain people I bring to games have to sit in certain spots. Okay. I never move. I always sit in my seat, but I'll rotate them depending on what's going on. I have just weird superstitions. And I have friends who will call me like, I haven't gone to a game in a while. I'm 5-0 this year. You got to bring me back. Okay.
I mean, that's a valid argument, right? That's how they really
get
in. Like, hey, here's my record. That they present you with like a PowerPoint. Like, this is why I need to go because my record is very good and I can cheer loud at X amount of times.
And I don't know my record for when I've been on the board. I know it's worked more than it hasn't.
All right. That's the most important thing, really.
Yeah. And the building gets hopping. Like when I'm doing it, I don't hear anyone else because I'm yelling so loud, and I'm just staring at the camera. But my fiance and my friends who are with me, like, no, everyone gets up and it gets incredibly loud. Like they're like the announcers saying the words you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? So I
you like black out. Yeah. It's epic. No,
I snap out of it and we've won and I don't know what happened.
You're like, cool, I did it again.
Wake up and you're celebrating. Yeah. You're wearing the dollar bill Kirill shirt. Just how much have you seen him ignite this fan base and this passion? I mean, it's always been there. We are the state of hockey, and you talked about the Parise Suter signings injected something, but I definitely, in COVID stuff aside, you could feel the crowd start to dissipate a little bit in years even pre-COVID, right? But Kirill re-injected this team. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, it was unfortunate last year that not a lot of people got to go see him. I was fortunate enough being a season ticket holder, and I was able to at least get into, I think I got into 8 games last year or something. And then because he would watch them on TV, and he's great on TV.
Yeah.
But anyone who hasn't seen him live needs to go see him, go see Kevin, go see these guys live, because it's completely different.
Yeah.
And then, he's just completely reinvigorated this team like I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. And this crowd has been on board since game 1 this year. It's been like playoff games almost all year, like with noise and intensity level. It's just been a riot and so much fun to be at.
Well, and we've talked about this. So I work for the radio network, and almost every single night, Joe and Tom are like, before we like go live, they'll be like talking and like, look at the fans lined up at warmups, like 6, 7, 8, 9 rows
Dean.
back. Like
Dean says it every post game too. He said they get goosebumps when they walk out because they see the amount of people that are there for warmups because they want to see these guys. Right? Are you there that early? What's your routine for game day?
I do like seeing warmups. I sit on the other side, so where we attack twice. So I end up watching our opponents, which is fun because I like to see
scout them out, take notes, right? Yeah.
But no, like I'll look down at the other end, and it's just packed. Like it's awesome to see. I know the players got to feed off it, and that's one of the things. Like I know some of the players know who I am now. Like Freddie Gaudreau, I went to a morning skate once, and he like knocked on the glass and pointed at me, and I pointed up the board. And I just went, he goes, good. Saw Kevin Fiala the other week driving through Minneapolis, and I like looked over and I saw Kevin, and he kind of did a double take at me, and I just gave him the thumbs up. And at the next light, we were going back and forth. And are you going to the game? And I said, hell yeah.
Nice.
And he just go, good, let's get it going. So it's kind of fun that they see me. But I get nervous, as most Wild fans do. We have a history of December, January kind of disappearing.
Yep.
Not the last couple of seasons, thankfully, but we all know what that 10-12 losing game slump looks like. And so I think we were riding a pretty good win streak when I first got on the board, and the building was getting quiet. And I was like, you can't get quiet for this team. They deserve everything we can get. So, it's just been so much fun this year. And the recognition is what it is. I'm happy to get the crowd going. I am not a plant. I'm not paid. I get no perks.
You just show up for that one screen time, and then you leave afterward and you go watch it from your couch. That's not what you're doing.
Yep. No. I don't. They don't bust me in or anything.
Not yet.
5
anyway.
security guards.
Eventually, you're going to be able to start making some requests and some asks. I think. Right? We'll see.
We'll see. I've had some conversations with some fun people in the organization, so it's been exciting. It's opened doors, I guess, potentially. So we'll see. I'm just happy that the team's doing good, and that the fan base has been reignited. I think we were 3rd in attendance this year. Mm-hmm. So to see that building full again, like I had goosebumps game 1 because we hadn't seen the building full like that for a long time.
I was going to ask you about that because we've discussed this on the podcast probably for the last 2 months straight. Like, how much does home ice advantage mean in the playoffs? Can the Wild truly benefit from that? At the end of the day, does it not matter? You just have to win. Do you think it has mattered? I know, Joe and Tom on the broadcast, they were like, the Wild fans were cheering for the Wild when they left the ice for warmups in game 1. Like, that's how excited they are to see something exciting happen in the postseason. Have you noticed that at all as somebody who's right in the middle of all the chaos?
Yeah, I think it plays a factor. I mean, you always are going to have to win games on the road. Like if it goes to 7 games and you're only winning your home games, that's like, it happens, but we always want to try to close it out with a couple on the road wins. So, but I think our building, has once again returned to being the XL Energy Center, and it's just been loud. I think it does play a factor, especially in the mindset of some of the players. You know, it amps them up. You know, one big hit, and you get 18,000 people losing their minds. That can turn a game. So yeah, it plays a factor. I don't think it's the most important thing, but it's fun. I'd much rather have more games to go to than away. So I personally,
we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
We're all personally
We're all
invested in
selfish.
home ice
We want more
advantage,
home
right?
games.
take my money. Let me pay for more home games. So from a fan's perspective, as a season ticket holder, yeah, I want the majority of the games in my building. But yeah, it can go either way, and I know there's arguments that can be had either way. But
yeah,
I think it's important. I think we watched the team this year with their home record, not always winning in regulation, but getting the W at the end. So.
Yeah, way more fun for fans than for writers, but
Absolutely.
that's something I whine about every time. You know, final question. And of course you're a fan, so I know what you're going to say, and I know that, but I'm going to tee you up for it then. The Wild, do they get out of this series against St. Louis and make it into the second round?
Yeah, I always thought this is going to be a 6 or 7 game series. And what that means is we're going to lose 1 or 2 games. Like, I can't say the sky's falling when I said it's going to be 6 or 7 and we lost a game. I can't say, well, we're out of it. I anticipated this somewhere in me, but yeah, my immediate response is, where were they? And I think we'll get out of this one. I truly do. I think.
How far you got them going? Is a cup run realistic? Or, I mean, again, you could be clouded by your fandom. It's fine. I'll allow it.
No, I think a cup run is realistic. Honestly, it's the playoffs. I mean, what did Montreal do last year?
Yeah.
And that guy Carey Price.
And I truly believe we're better than they are. We have a better goalie tandem. I think we have better offensive skill set and defensive skill set. So. That's the fun thing about the playoff hockey is it's the greatest thing in the world. And yeah, there's guarantees and there's tough opponents, but that's what playoffs are all about. I think we can make a deeper run than we've made in the past for sure. And yeah, if we make it to the finals at that point, it's kind of a toss up for the most part,
right?
Because we're going against, you know, an Eastern Conference team, which we have very good numbers against all.
That's true.
So, yeah, there's going to be tough ones. I'm not, like in years past, I'm not really scared of any opponent, to be honest. I'm not worried to the point where like, it's going to be overly hard to go against them, or it's impossible to beat Colorado or whatever. I'm not as in like years past where we all were like, well, we definitely can't have this matchup or that matchup. You know, so I think it's going to be, I think this team can truly do something this year and really surprise the league. I think the fans know what we're capable of.
Yeah.
You know, we're still flyover country as far as that.
Minnesota will remind you that we're still here. Don't worry. Every time.
I know. But this team's built differently than we've seen in years past. Yeah, we have some superstars and we have some main lines, but you watch what all these lines, all these players can do. They know their role. It's Billy and Dean have gotten the right players in the right seats. And if you look at it from like that business standpoint, they've got the right players playing in the right area. That's part of the way to get success is he's not tinkering with the lines. I see it all the time. Change the lines up, move them around. No. Like, what's wrong with you?
Sometimes you should, but that's just me.
Yeah, there's some things that should be done.
He gets too married sometimes to situations, but I digress again. That's one thing I'm like, I know you're not going to change this, but you maybe should. Like power play, maybe do something there. Eventually, that's Dean. I think he gets very married. But you're right. The lines have been performing well. Why would you change?
Well, now's not really the time to be experimenting.
Unless you have to throw them in
game
a
5. Game 5, round 1. Yeah. You know, unless injuries or something drastic comes up, now's not really the time to go play around and be like, well, I think it'll work there. No, we don't have a lot of practices. We got skates, but now it's not really the time to do that stuff. But I think to get back is, I think this team can make a run and it's going to be fun either way. Yeah. I want more. This season's been great. I want more.
I'm not ready to be done. Right.
I think we're all on the same page there. Yeah.
I don't want to go to the lake till June. Yeah. That's what I want. Make me stay down here for Memorial Day. Make me stay.
There you go. I love it. Well, Paul, again, thank you so much for joining. Love your work. Love what you do. Avery does too, despite the cries. that you maybe will hear. So we'll let you go. We'll see you at game 5 and hopefully down the road in the second round, if not further.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, this is producer Fred. I just wanted to ask everyone to go out there and spread the word about Bardown Beauties. Leave us a like, share, thumbs up, review, you name it, we want to hear from you. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, your favorite podcast app.
We're back. Shout out to Paul for joining us. Again, you fans are awesome. And I say that not only from Alexis and I's perspective, but the team says it constantly. Dean says it constantly. Like, it's very appreciated. I am proud of you all. It's fun to be a part of the Minnesota Wild family this season, especially.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it was nice to have Paul on and talk about some of this stuff, because truly it's like, I mean, even Jessi and I, who are like working the Wild games, when I see him up on the Jumbotron, I'm like, oh, I am ready. I am so ready for the rest of this game, and the fans love it. It was really cool to hear him say all the players even are like recognizing him and loving it. So you guys are making a difference. Keep it up. It should be a fun week here, and hopefully a few more weeks.
I'm not kidding when I was like starstruck. Like, I was visiting family or like friends they were having dinner, and I was like, that's that guy. And I was like, I should go say hi. And I was like nervous for some reason. Like, I just felt weird. I was like, I don't know what I'd be like. You're that guy, that guy. But
give him the double finger point. You're that guy.
Yeah, you're that guy. So thanks for him for taking the time to chat with us here. Before we go, we have to wrap up with our Up for Debate this week, which Alexis posed the question, where do you think the Stanley Cup winner is going to come from? Is it coming from the West, from the East? Do you not have any idea? Which is a cop-out, guys. We shouldn't have even given you that option.
Well, I needed 3 options, and there's only 2 conferences, so I was a little tied up with that idea. But yes, I agree. I don't want to give anybody an easy out here on this one.
Definitely not. So Alexis, what do you think? I mean, both have very strong contenders on each side. Obviously, you can argue usually the East is quite a bit stronger, but where do you think the winner comes out of?
It's interesting because this has been the case for quite a while now, but it seemed like even especially this year more so that the East was buttoned up for the playoffs with like 2 weeks to go. Like, they were like literally the team who was the last team out of the playoffs was like 8 points behind the last wild card team. Like, they had that figured out like well before the playoffs. The West, meanwhile, came down to literally the last couple of games trying to figure out who's playing who and, where it's all going to be. And there was a lot more at stake in the West. And I think historically, at least I should say more so in recent years, the West has always been a little bit more competitive. Like, you never really know who's going to come out of the West. The East, I think, has more of that top end talent that gets hyped up in national media, but maybe doesn't have across the board as much parity as the West has. So that being said, I'm still undecided just because I wouldn't be surprised either way. And seeing how some of these series are starting to play out a little bit. I mean, Florida is down in their series to Washington. You've got the Tampa and Maple Leafs, Tampa Maple Leaf series is kind of interesting. That's all tied up at 2. So I think we might see some upsets here that, we didn't expect to see. So at this point, I am still undecided. I think there's a lot of talent across the board. And even in the West, some teams that are, Dallas is hanging around, some teams where it's like, hey, we thought maybe these would be a little bit more dominant series than they aren't. So yeah, I'm undecided still. So after I just said I shouldn't have given people the option to take the cop out, I am taking the cop out. Jessi, do you have a hard stance on this one?
I think that it'll come out of the East, unfortunately, for, because even if the Wild get bounced, you want to see your conference go and shine or whatever. I just think the East has just such good players and it's fun to watch. It's a different style of hockey too. And Minnesota was very successful against teams in the East this year, which usually doesn't happen. So that was exciting, but I think there's just something about me that says it's probably going to be the East. I hope it's not Tampa. That's really the only kind of hard out I have. I'm done with it. Like, let's move on.
No offense to them. I just want to see somebody else.
If Toronto could not Toronto, that would have been really helpful, but they're starting to Toronto a little bit.
Toronto. Yeah. Figure it out, guys. We're rooting for you. I got you guys going to the finals. So
at the end of the day, my selfishness, whichever team has the most Minnesotans on it would be great because then the cup comes to Minnesota. I get to do work, get to do stories, get to follow the cup around. So that's my pick. But I think it could be, it's obvious, again, it's the playoffs. It could be anybody, right? It could could be Dallas. Who would have thought?
It could
right?
be. Yeah.
Although, you know what? I believe I said Dallas was going to do well this year. So that was, go back to those.
So again, we want this for Jessi's sake because she likes to look right. So come on, Dallas.
I love to look right. So yeah, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Again, apologies for the delay, but the game, blame the game schedulers, right? There's a Sunday game. It's Mother's Day. Whatever. Life is such. Game 5, Game 5 Tuesday. We are guaranteed a Game 6 in St. Louis. Time has yet to be announced. It could be early, Alexis. It might be.
I don't think it will be, but I'll keep my hopes up. But
it depends on how quickly the other series
are done. Yep,
right?
I gotcha.
Yep. That's what it is, guys. That's why Minnesota's playing.
Can you imagine if there's like no other games going on? They're like, you guys get an 8:30 game anyway. You're the only game on the schedule and you're playing
classic. I can't wait to see my mentions fill up if that situation happens. I can't make the schedule for the record. And I don't know why Bali doesn't let you. I don't know. I don't know any of those things. So just a reminder.
Not her problem. Take your complaints somewhere else.
Definitely ain't my problem. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Again, a shout out to Talk North for featuring us on their network. Shout out to SotaStick. Get your Common Bird shirt, the new Ryan Hartman one. I believe they've got those Zuccarello applesauce shirts out. You'd love to see it. Code Bardown Bardown Beauties will get you 15% off. BettorEdge, BettorEdge.com. Go place your bets for games.
Pick your Stanley Cup winner. Yeah.
Pick your cup winner. You know who you want to do
shy.
it for. Maybe go for somebody in the East because that's what I think you should do. But go do that. They are awesome. Also, shout out to Royal Credit Union, one of our newest sponsors. We love them. Less fee, more free. That's a hard one to say, guys.
Yeah, say that 10 times fast.
Less fee, more free with Royal Credit Union. They are awesome. And as always, Jim Beam, we're working on some cool giveaways with them coming up. So stay tuned to all of our social channels. And again, thanks to all of you. Don't be afraid to say hi. I know I embarrassed a fan the other day by approaching him when I saw he was looking at my Twitter and couldn't make the connection. So come say hi. I love saying hi to people. I have no problem taking a picture. I love talking hockey. So if you see us bouncing around, certainly don't be afraid to say hello. So you guys are awesome. You the best. We will have this episode up and running, and we'll talk to you again next week. Have a good one. Bye.